up? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for? Ungrateful. No. It's a good day. Good day to be here with family. I'm here with my girlfriend's family, and they're rowdy, and I love them, and they like me from all accounts. So that is something pretty cool for me. My family couldn't be together on Thanksgiving this year. We're all scattered. My little brother's in Africa, being a better human and helping in the Peace Corps. My older brother just moved to Maine. My mother is going up north as well with my younger sister, and so here we are. I got my little family now, though, so it's pretty cool. It's wild to me that I'm, in my 30s and I have a girlfriend, and we have a house and we have a cat and a dog, and spending family with, now it's like a question of like, oh, who are we going to spend holidays with? Like, you're a kid, that's never a question. So I'm going to go spend it with my family. Even when you're like a teenager, young 20s, like I was 24. I was like, who am I going to spend Thanksgiving with? Like, obviously my family. Who else do I really have? It's the Fightcraft podcast with Klein Wong. Today is Thursday, November 28th. Thanksgiving, baby. 2024 in the year of our, some people's Lord. Starting with the banner on screen today. I think I'm going to try and do that till we get this thing off the ground. Please, I would greatly appreciate it. Hit subscribe. Follow me on X. Follow me on Instagram. Whatever your cup of tea is. And let's get cracking with it without further ado. So what do we have today? Got a mini preview of UFC 310. There's no UFC this weekend, so I wanted to give a little something, some preliminary thoughts. On Tuesday's video, I talked a little bit about the trepidation that I had in picking Asakura or Pantoja in their title fight. So who knows? Maybe I'll actually double down on one and just fucking let the chips fall where they may. You hear that, Durain? It's coming. I actually shouldn't talk shit about picks because I have not been doing great with picks recently. That's MMA for you, That's MMA. Guys who are casuals tend to pick fights like awesomely. At least the guy anecdotally, like in my experience, my friends that are casual fans of the sport, they're maybe just degenerate gamblers. They look at whatever numbers on the Hard Rock app or whatever one, Bet DSI or whatever fucking app they use, and they just pick, and a lot of times they get it right. And I might know a little too much about MMA where like the variables are too much in my head. I've been watching for so long that like I think these weird upsets can throw me off, and I train too, so I'm like, well, his strength is this and their strength is that, but then you forget it's MMA and these guys are at a higher level than I ever will be or ever was, and you just can never tell. So let's dive into it. I got a couple of friend questions that I'm going to get to, and I figure since it's kind of a lull week, I'd do a little something, just fights that I'm thankful for that have happened in the past, given the spirit of Thanksgiving, and maybe as a little bit of a dry run for a little type of content, like a segment or type of video that I want to start doing, where we just take a look at like a deep dive in old fights that have happened. Talk about where the fighters were at that stage in their career, where they were in the rankings, what the build-up was like when the fight was announced and then going up to it, and then, of course, how the fight played out and what the fallout was after that. Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje coming at you, and I am already sad for the Tony Ferguson landslide that has happened since that fight, so that one will be a little bit somber. But, let me know. Let me know in the comments real quick. Like, I have a couple of ideas of fights that I'm super grateful for and fights that I just think were huge hype fights. Maybe they were important fights for the sport. Maybe they flew under the radar and they ended up being amazing fights, and, like, kind of how they changed my perspective as a fan or affected me as a fan. Maybe they became famous fights or fights that I just hold in high regard. I'll tell you right now, Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald 2 at UFC 189, that is an all-timer for me. That is one of my favorite fights of all time. Definitely a top 5. Might still be my favorite. I'd have to really do a catalog of that. But fascinating ones like Nick Diaz, Carlos Condit, I think is the first one I'm going to do at UFC 143. and just kind of go into all of the goings on that were around the sport at that time. And then certainly in the welterweight division, you know, where you had George St. Pierre as the champion, Carlos Condit and Nick Diaz coming in, each with, you know, Nick with a lot of not too much hype, but like weird hype around him. And then Carlos Condit with like these insane knockouts. And then, you know, the big question, the looming shadow of the welterweight division in 2012 was, who's the champ going to be? You know, George St. Pierre is out. He hasn't been beaten in a while. And that one was around my time of like coming into the sport. And so I'd like to take a look at that and just do a little segment, 20 minutes or something like that, and just go over like what the vibe was, you know, because we forget a lot. Like, fighting is a very what have you done for me lately kind of sport, and fans forget. And then like you have these massive victories, right? Take like TJ Dillashaw and Renan Barão, for example. You have these massive victories, which when you look at them in retrospect or after the fights have happened, you're like, well, yeah, you know, so-and-so was never that good. Renan Barão was never that good, but it's like you forget the dude was the bantamweight champ while Cruz was away and defended his interim title. That's always weird, and unified it. And then TJ Dillashaw was like ranked 8th or 10th at the time. Like that was when they first kind of got the rankings coming around too. And you were like, what is TJ Dillashaw going to give Renan Barão that we haven't seen Renan Barão already fight before? And like, little did we know, dude, TJ Dillashaw not only came in there a new fighter, exposed all of Renan Barão's weaknesses too. It was a great fight. That one will definitely be on there. But let me know, man. You got any good fights? You want to see me talk about Jones Gustafsson? You want to see me talk about I don't know, Nate Diaz and Cowboy Cerrone? You want to see me talk about that shit? Put it out in the comments. Text me if you have my number. Like if you're fucking deranged, salty ass. I'm kidding. He's my friend. I give him way too much shit. As I talk here to no one in the void, for probably no one to watch. Maybe like my girlfriend will be nice and hit play. What do we have coming up here? I wanted to do a little preview of UFC 310, which is coming up. I briefly touched on Pantoja Asakura on my last episode, and I'll kind of give some finishing thoughts on that. And then of course next week, the week leading up to it, I'm sure I'll touch on it again. You know, we'll have more data as we take a look at these guys doing the weight cut, coming into the fight, kind of getting a chance to speak and how they're feeling coming up to it, and all those fight week interviews. But let's just start at the bottom, if we may. You know, if we may. Teixeira versus Brzeski. Don't know much. We'll watch it. Clay Guida, Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper has to show us that he can evolve. He came into the UFC very young. Very nice kid. Excellent jiu-jitsu. Loves M&Ms. Chase Hooper has to show us who he is. And we've gotten a little bit of a taste of that coming forward, right? We've gotten it because he's on a win streak. When he fought Alex Caceres, it was a little bit too much. Alex Caceres, good grappler, creative striker, and Hooper we got to see that Hooper was a little bit one-dimensional. He's a little bit small for the division, a little bit of a skinny guy, which I'm down for. I like the skinny, lanky guys who have good jiu-jitsu. Alex Caceres, another lanky boy with creative striking and some slick jiu-jitsu in his own right. You know, Bruce Leroy. And then Chase Hooper rebounds, right? Wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one, and then he gets on this streak. He's on a nice little hot streak right now. Fought twice in 2023 against Fior, decision. Against Jordan Levitt, you saw the tide really turn. And Jordan Levitt's a creative fighter as well. Another good grappler, the Monkey King. But Jordan Levitt, I thought, would be a bridge too far for Chase Hooper, because Chase Hooper, he takes damage, he wears damage, and you wondered if he was going to be a little too one-dimensional for Jordan Levitt rather. But Hooper came out and submitted him, and that was a shock to me. Not a shock in that he didn't have the skills, because I thought he had the skills. I just wondered if he'd have a hard time navigating that, if Levitt would give him trouble as Chase tries to implement like his strengths, which is the grappling. And lo and behold, he doesn't, and Levitt gets choked out. And or was it an armbar? Was it an armbar? Let's see. Yeah, he choked him out. Okay, rear naked. And then Borshiev, I'm not familiar with Borshiev, but I've heard his name before. He beat Lontop, who just fought. Lost to Mark Diakese, which is fine because Mark Diakese is a pretty damn good fighter, even if people do get a little bit shitty about him. But this is about Chase Hooper, and I don't know if I think that Chase Hooper can beat Clay Guida. Old dog Clay Guida here coming back. We just had Jim Miller back a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. We just had Jim Miller come back and show us that dog is salty and that dog's got some motherfucking bark in him still, and a little bit of bite. But Clay Guida, not quite a Jim Miller. And it's sad to say because Clay Guida, the Carpenter, is a legend in the sport. He's a pioneer, especially with the lighter weight classes. He's on a skid right now. And his lone win in his last 4 coming by split decision. I guess he beat Santos via submission, but that was 3 years ago. I got to take Chase Hooper in this one. I got to take Chase Hooper because Clay Guida, not just older, not just with an older style, but a lot of miles on him. Hasn't fought in a minute. Or did he fight this year? I think he did fight this year. So I'm talking. Well, no, he fought a year ago. Chase Hooper did fight this year, and I just think it's time for MMA to do that thing that we get real sad about, that we all hate, which is feed its legends, your favorite fighters at one point, feed them to the young. And maybe Chase Hooper is not a future champion. Maybe he's not the next big thing, but he is younger and he is developing his skills. And as he's on the upswing, Clay Guida is on the downswing. So I will take Chase Hooper in that. It's that lightweight. Both cool guys too. Like I've listened to interviews with both of them. Chase Hooper's like a nice kid. Clay Guida's like a fun guy. He seems like a very nice guy actually too. You just want them both to I just want everybody to have a good time. I got Chase Hooper. Not much else to say about that. Let's move off of that one. We got Max Griffin, Michael Chiesa here. I looked at this fight earlier and was trying to decide who I wanted to take in it. Initially, I leaned towards Max Griffin because he did my boy Carlos Condit dirty, and that angered me, but it made me think that he's really good. But no, I mean, Max Griffin, if we look at his record here, his last few fights, Max Griffin on a little bit of a skid as well. Now, he's coming off of a win against Jeremiah Wells. It was a close fight. It was a split decision. Morales beat him by decision. Tim Means took him to a split decision, and this is no shade on Tim Means, man. No shade on Tim Means. But Tim Means a bit older. Tim Means a little bit battle-worn. Tim Means always a middle-of-the-pack guy. I think Max Griffin should have been able to finish the job against him. In all likelihood, he should have been able to finish the job against Carlos Condit, and Condit was not fully outclassed in that fight. I remember watching that on I believe my birthday, or it was the day after I think it was my birthday, and I was hanging out. We had just done this 2-day seminar with the New England Cartel boys. Tyson Chartier, Calvin Cater, and Rob Font came down to Tampa, Florida, and they did an MMA seminar on the first day at the South Tampa Jiu-Jitsu gym, and then they did a striking seminar at the Tampa Muay Thai gym. I was lucky enough to go to both. My lovely coach, my awesome coach, and his lovely wife, Steph, my big sister, they got me the 2-day tickets for my birthday. And then afterwards, we went and got breakfast, I guess brunch, and that night we went to the patio here in Tampa, Florida, and we watched McGregor versus Poirier 2. No, we watched McGregor versus Poirier 3. Let me just double check my math on that one. I believe it was the one where he fucking, July 10th, 2021. Boy, how time flies. I turned 30 that year. Holy shit. Dustin Poirier gets that fucking weird win from McGregor, snapping his fucking, oh my God, brutal fucking fight to come back from, right? And you had Gilbert Burns, Stephen Thompson. I also had Thompson and Condit that night, and they both lost, and I was a sad boy that night. But that is not the fight we're talking about, right? Talking about Griffin and Chiesa. Now, beat Condit, beat Song Kanon. On Tuesday we watched Song Kanon get wheel kicked into the fucking Andromeda Galaxy from Salikov. But beat those two guys, okay. You beat middle of the pack guy, and you beat an old vet, very long in the tooth, and Carlos Condit, who I believe was on a little bit of a streak then, fighting like the Tim Means of the world. But I think his last couple of fights, he lost to Neil Magny, lost to Tim Means, lost to Morales, lost to Wells. I mean, 3 of these are split decisions, so you could say he came very close, put up a good fight. But it kind of lets you know where he is at in the division. And with that, right, sometimes it's not always style versus style. It's not always age. It's not always who have they won versus lost to, right? And right now it's not necessarily who Max Griffin has lost to or beaten, right? I know I'm looking at their record, but it's kind of just to get some familiarity with what the state of his career has been, right? But contrast that with Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa, who is also on a bit of a skid, okay? Let's not get it twisted. He beat Tony Ferguson. Not the best. Not exactly, good to get back in the win column. Tony Ferguson is a legend, longest winning streak in lightweight history, I believe. And there was probably some time in the 4 times that he was scheduled with Khabib where he had a decent chance to win. The further away we get from that, the more that I think it was always going to be Khabib's fight. But I think around the second time that fight got booked, the first or second time that fight got booked, it was a close fight in my mind, and I thought Tony Ferguson might edge him in one of those. Excuse me, my septum is all fucked up. Neti pots don't work either. Chiesa did beat Magny, cool. Lost to Vicente Luque by submission. I mean, I thought that was going to be a closer fight than it was, and I thought they were a little bit more even. I think I did have Luque in that fight, but Chiesa I thought was going to be a tough one, kind of finding his own here at welterweight. He was a lightweight for a while. Chiesa versus Brady, I did think Brady was going to win that, and he did. Sean Brady is a good fucking fighter. And Chiesa versus Holland. Holland submits him. Chiesa has good submission, good jiu-jitsu, and for him to get submitted by Holland, who also has stellar submissions, right? Great grappling, very interesting grappling, obviously not against Hamzat Chimaev. But Holland kind of fell into like the Vicente Luque realm where I was like, this will be a close fight. Chiesa has the tools to beat him. I would lean Chiesa. I think I leaned Luque and I leaned Holland because I was just more of a fan of those guys and their styles. But in reality, those fights were closer in my mind, and he lost to them. And he lost by submission to both of them. And, Sean Brady, I kind of thought was going to beat him because Sean Brady is, I don't know exactly what his ceiling is. We don't know quite where he is, but I think Sean Brady is top 5 material. Let's take a look at the welterweight rankings real quick, if I may. And let's just see, where is Sean Brady. Sean Brady currently coming in at number 4, right, in the welterweight division. Number 4 under Shavkat Rakhmonov. Now, he did just lose, I want to say, to Gilbert Burns here. No, he beat Gilbert Burns. He lost to Bilal, but he beat Gilbert Burns. Brady's pretty fucking good, so, it's no, it's not a slight to Chiesa to say that I kind of assumed Brady was going to beat him. This fight with Max Griffin, closer than we think for sure. And I think if I have to pick, I'm going to go Michael Chiesa. Griffin is sturdy. Chiesa has been finished in his past couple of fights twice, and Griffin is not. It's been a decision machine. I think Michael Chiesa can stay away from a finish from Max Griffin, who is not necessarily a known finisher. A couple good knockouts for sure. Go back and watch those. But for the most part, like, and Chiesa's been getting submitted, I don't think Max Griffin's going to submit. Dude, watch Max Griffin uncork like a guillotine or a fucking anaconda choke or something on Michael Chiesa, and I'm back here eating my fucking words with Durain sending me shitpost texts. Bring it on, motherfucker. But I'm going to go Michael Chiesa here. Chiesa getting on the desk as an analyst, always, that analyst gig that they give to fighters sometimes, it always, it typically goes one of two ways, hard. Either it makes them a better fighter because they're spending time analyzing and breaking stuff down in a new way, and it really supplements the way that they train, the way they game plan, or it kind of distracts them. And I wonder if that might be what's happening with Chiesa. He's a great analyst, but I wonder what might be happening there. I am going to pick Chiesa for this one, but it's a closer fight than it appears, and their records don't tell the full tale of who they are as fighters right now as they meet. You'll see here the tail of the tape. Chiesa a little bit taller, Max Griffin with just a hair longer reach, and Chiesa has a pair of dancer's legs on him. He's got the 2-inch leg reach advantage, and Chiesa does throw some good kicks, so I wonder what that would be. Chiesa has a great finishing instinct, though. I would say better than Max Griffin's. It's no slight to Max Griffin. And I think Chiesa could find an opening here and get the finish. At the very least, he could defend himself from getting finished by Max Griffin and maybe edge a decision. I will take Chiesa. If Chiesa loses that one, I don't see a path to the title for him, now, but I don't really see any reason for him to hang on other than to be maybe not even a gatekeeper, just like a good test for up-and-coming guys, new signees. Chiesa not even in the top 15. Max Griffin not either, but, Chiesa's been here for a while, and you would think that he would have a little bit more going on. Durden versus Van, I don't know much, so I don't want to speak on it. Weidman versus Anders. I previewed this one for the UFC 309 card with John Jones and Stipe Miocic, and I had Eric Anders, ya boy, awesome nickname. The Cuban Missile Crisis is still my favorite nickname. Anders coming off of, a kind of spotty record here, right? Wins one, loses one, wins one, wins one, loses one, loses one, wins one, loses one, wins one. So, what does that say? Not a whole lot, but it gives you an idea of where he's at. Chris Weidman, do I dare even look at Chris Weidman's record right now? Leg snap against Uriah Hall, yikes. Weidman loses to Tavares, rather. Beats Silva. Beat Akhmedov. That's going back 4 years before the leg snap, but even before the leg snap, Weidman was, I don't know if it's the wars, damage. I don't know if he has long-lasting injuries, leg break aside. I don't know if it had something to do with USADA. But Weidman, not quite the same after losing to Rockhold. Not quite the same after taking that flying knee in Madison Square Garden from Yoel Romero. Weidman, I think, all but retired now, which is sad to say. I didn't like Weidman in the beginning, and then I started really liking him. And he was a cool guy. I just wanted him to win, and then he had some tough fights. And Weidman, I think, is going to be another fighter who I think is going to be fed to not necessarily the younger fighter in Eric Anders, right? He is younger, but I don't know, maybe a fresher fighter. Eric Anders has some good-ass fucking wins under his belt, too, his last fights notwithstanding. Randy Brown, Brian Battle, that's going to be a good one, and I have Brian Battle in this one. I do want to take a look at Randy Brown's previous fights, though. Rude boy. Randy Brown beat Muslim Salikov, and we just saw Muslim fucking spinning wheel kick Song Kanon's head into the Andromeda Galaxy. So I think, and that is my turn of phrase, by the way. You will hear me say that a lot. I know I've already said it on this podcast multiple times. Beat Turman, beat Salikov, beat Dos Santos. I got to go, probably Randy Brown, because I think Brian Battle has had a rough go at it. But Brian Battle's a fun fighter, but they both are. Battle beat Giuseppe. Battle versus Lusa. Let's see real quick. Battle versus Lusa was an eye poke, right? Yeah, it was a draw, no contest because of an eye poke. That was a rough one. A lot of people said Lusa was looking for a way out in that fight, but an eye poke's an eye poke. You never really know how effective a fighter is. The only one who knows is that fighter. But that's the kind of thing that can change the correct, like, the course of a fight, and call it a no contest, book a rematch. They did not, but fuck it. Brian Battle marches on, beat Giuseppe. Brian Battle beat Fletcher, beat Green. I mean, my problem here with the Brian Battle thing is that, like, he's fought a lot of guys who are lower echelon in the UFC. Obviously, these guys are amazing fighters for even being there, but fought a lot of lower echelon guys. Now, in his own right, Brian Battle beat every one of those guys, and he was beating Lusa's ass before that no contest happened. So, it's not a knock on Brian Battle. It's just an identification of the fact that, we say it all the time here, like, in the gym and everything, like, the record does not necessarily tell the full story. It is merely one part of the equation, right, when you're trying to predict fights and just break down fights. Brown has fought, he fought Muslim Salikov, and Muslim Salikov was good. I knew who this dude was when he came into the UFC because he had a bunch of fucking wheel kick, spinning back kick knockouts, and I thought that was fascinating. I watched his highlight package a while ago, and I was like, this dude, and he's like, he's got that Russian, I think it's Russian, he's got that fucking, that, like, aura about him that the Russians have, and I think that, this is going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight. Randy Brown, let's see a couple more. Lost to Luque, lost to Della Maddalena. Both great fighters. And it looks like, when did he lose to Luque? 2020. He lost to Luque when Luque was, Vicente Luque, and he still kind of is Vicente Luque, but I was sad. I was nervous for Nick Diaz, one of my all-time favorites, to be fighting Luque originally on this card. We'll get to that. We already got to that. But Randy Brown, I think, is, he might surprise us here and give Brian Battle a tough run. That one, I'm going to hold off on my pick for that one. I'm going to wait till next week when we get a little bit closer to fight week. I kind of want Brian Battle to win. They both have great styles. I'm going to be happy with whoever wins here. But Brian Battle just has these, like, gutsy moments in the octagon, and he pulls out these wins. Randy Brown does too, but Brian Battle has, like, consistently had these moments. And I think, I don't know, Randy Brown has a lot of experience, though. I could see Randy Brown beating him. I'm excited for that one. We'll hold that one. I'll give you guys a pick next week for that one. Aljamain Sterling, Movsar Evloev. This fight should not be on the prelims. Durain, I know you're out there licking your fucking chops waiting to send me a shitpost text, but we need to show Aljamain Sterling some goddamn respect, okay? People don't like Aljamain Sterling because he has a boring style. These are people who don't know about grappling really tend to be, and, like, they have a bad taste in their mouth still because he got illegally kneed in the head by Petr Yan and he couldn't continue, and he won the belt off of that, which I think if that was just a regular fight, not a title fight, I think he would have a lot more forgiving nature about him. But people need to give this dude his due. Aljamain Sterling is a fucking excellent fighter. He is a top-tier fighter. Okay? He has excellent fucking finishes. Suloev stretch. He has great finishes. Bro, he choked out Corey Sandhagen in the first round. I think first minute or two. Like, slapped on, hit Corey Sandhagen with the Jan Sport. Got on his back, got the backpack, and slapped in that rear naked choke. And Sandhagen went to fucking sleep. Throw some goddamn respect on Aljamain Sterling's name, okay? Throw some respect on his name. And he's out there. He's trying to feed the streets. Now, Movsar Evloev is a great fighter as well in his own right. And the dude has some good wins, okay? Nick Lentz, Duwadu, okay, whatever, right? Hakeem Duwadu never quite lived up to his potential, in my opinion. Excellent fighter. Dan Ige cracks, but I think once you figure out Dan Ige and you know what to do, you game plan for him, and you stick to that game plan, I think he's beatable. Lopez. This dude is all the rage right now. Diego Lopez. Evloev beat him in a decision, cleanly. Okay, that's a legit fight right there. Arnold Allen. This one coming as recently as January. That's a good, those last two, and like they get better with age, those last two wins are real good. I think Aljamain Sterling has his work cut out for him in this fight. Aljamain Sterling, former bantamweight champion, excellent grappling. Just beat, our boy at South Tampa Jiu-Jitsu and Tampa Muay Thai. Beat our boy Calvin Cater. I think Aljamain Sterling has his work cut out for him, and this is a tough one to call too. I want to go Evloev right now. I love you, Eljo. I want to go Evloev right now. I'm going to wait till I give my final prediction on that, and we'll give that one next week. So that's two. We got Battle Brown and Sterling Evloev. Luque Nick Diaz not happening for what it's worth. I think Luque would have battered Nick Diaz, and I don't think it would have been fun. Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes, fighting for a sandwich. No, Anthony Smith coming off a rough one. Real quick here, if I may, I got to get home to my girlfriend. And Anthony Smith losing to Delize, I thought that was going to happen. Losing to Roundtree, okay. Beat Span, losing to Walker, oh my gosh. Anthony Smith had a lot of fights when he was kind of on that rise up to fighting for the title. How many fights does he have? Wow. Anthony Smith has 58 professional MMA fights. I wasn't entirely sold on him when he was kind of getting a lot of hype a couple years ago because he was beating like older guys devastatingly, right? But, beating older guys, beating Rashad Evans years after his prime did not do much for me. But Dominic Reyes has also had a rough go at it. And like, if it was any other light heavyweight, I would kind of think that Smith is definitely going to get beat. But I mean, Dominic Reyes, ever since that Jones fight, which I think he won now in retrospect too. I mean, he lost to Blachowicz, second round knockout. He lost to Prohaska, second round. That spinning elbow against the cage. Brutal one. Ryan Spann, 1 minute minute 20 knockout in the first. And then he beat Dustin Jacoby here. And it was a good return to form, right? It was in June. It wasn't super long ago. I'm going to go Reyes with this one. And I think it's more of a toss-up than their records and their recency and like the metrics would really let you think. But Anthony Smith is older. Let's put a stamp on where this guy is in the division. Dominic Reyes, I hope nothing wrong happens to him. Doo-Ho Choi and Nate Landwehr, I was looking at this one earlier today. Doo-Ho Choi has not fought in a minute, I don't believe. Or has he fought once this year? I think he's fought once this year, and he beat Algeo. Yep. He beat Algeo in July. Good fight. for as long as it lasted. Nate Landwehr. Nate has fought a lot more than hey Klein. Nate has fought a lot more than Doo Ho Choi has. You know, lost to Julian Erosa, whatever. No shame in that. He beat Onama. Onama looked great this past couple of weeks. I forget. I think he fought 2 weeks ago. Onama looked great. Coming off a win against Lingo, lost to Dan Ige. Okay, I mean, Dan Ige can crack, dude, you know? Maybe just didn't have the right game plan. Maybe Dan Ige's crafty, right? Round 3, dragged him in there, and then just fucking got him with the decision, overwhelmed him. Beat Emmers. First round knockout. Landwehr with a beautiful knockout against Emmers. This is a tough one because if we look at Korean Superboy Doo Ho Choi here, the dude had like a wild 2.5 year gap because where was it? He fought Charles Jourdain in 2019. I mean, it's almost a 4-year gap, and then he came back against Nelson, against Kyle Nelson, and it fought to a draw. It was like a majority decision or something. I got, you know, and fucking Cub Swanson battered him, and then Jeremy Stevens caught him backing up and strafing, and Jeremy Stevens trains with Dominic Cruz. He knows about that lateral footwork. Jeremy Stevens fucked him up, dude. And he beat, fought Charles Jourdain, and came back from like serving in the military. The Korean military is mandatory there. They have to do their 2 years of service. He got the call. He went and served his country, and came back majority decision. Looked okay, and then he beat Chris Algeo, second round TKO. Chris Algio's Bill Algeo, right? Yeah, Bill Algeo. What am I saying? I don't know, man. This is a weird one too. I want to say Doo Ho Choi. He seems like the more complete fighter, better game planner. But Landwehr could make it ugly and really get Doo Ho Choi. So that's going to be a good one. It's not like next week I'm going to have more info and have like a better idea of the pick. I literally just don't know who's going to win this fight. I'm excited. I'll make a pick next week just for the lulls and to throw it into Rain's face. But I don't know. I could see Nate Landwehr beating Doo Ho Choi, making it messy, but I could also see, I have a feeling Doo Ho Choi is going to win. I think it's just a matter of like, how back are you? I know he's had 2 fights, but not 2 years, 2.5 years off, 3 years off. Like the game grew a lot, and I'm curious if Doo Ho Choi has made any new adaptations to his game or not. Bryce Mitchell, Kron Gracie. I mean, why is this on the fucking main card? You know, both of these guys with like good jiu-jitsu. Kron Gracie with a bit of that 2000 and late jiu-jitsu. Bryce Mitchell got sent to the fucking shadow round by Josh Emmett. Bryce Mitchell was twitching on the canvas for months after that. But he has, not the best striking, but I think he's coming off a knockout win. And Kron Gracie has definitively bad striking, unless something has changed in his previous fight. I think he fought Cub Swanson. I'm not even going to look at their record because I want to get through this. But, I mean, this is Bryce Mitchell. What are we doing here? He's savvy enough with the jiu-jitsu to stave off Kron Gracie, good enough on the feet to overwhelm Kron Gracie and get a finish. And it's like he could submit Kron Gracie, too. I mean, Kron Gracie's jiu-jitsu is excellent in pure grappling. But maybe that's a video I'll do, too, Kron Gracie versus Garry Tonin. But Bryce Mitchell, I mean, contender, legit contender. And Kron Gracie, I mean, fuck it. Let's look at their fucking records. 5-1. Let's look at his fight history here. Caceres, Swanson, Jourdain. Gracie, I don't know, man. I don't know what he's doing in this spot on the main card. Probably his name. Bryce Mitchell, I mean, yeah, he lost to Josh Emmett, beat Dan Ige, lost to Topuria. I mean, these are not, I mean, by the very nature of who Bryce Mitchell's been fighting, he's going to be better prepared than Kron Gracie is, I think. So I'm going to go Bryce Mitchell in that one. Volkov Gane, I was having a little bit of trouble with this one. They did fight before. It was a rematch. Cyril Gane got him. I got Cyril Gane again. Volkov's had a great show of improvements, but I think Cyril Gane has taken enough time off, and he's the kind of guy who's going to really develop his MMA game in that. The height obviously goes to Volkov. The reach goes to Gane by an inch. Not crazy, but I think he has enough of the attributes where he's not going to be overwhelmed by it, and I just don't see it being easy for Gane to win, but I think he's going to win. Ian Machado Garry, I'm going to give a full prediction on this one next week. Shavkat Rakhmonov. As of right now, I got Shavkat. I mean, how could you not? 18-0, all finishes. Ian Machado Garry, 15-0, but showing some signs of weakness there with a few of these guys. Michael Venom Page win. the one that sticks out to me. The thing is, like, kind of fancies himself a striker with slick jiu-jitsu and has not really been able to display that as he's climbed the ladder in the welterweight division. Shavkat Rakhmonov answering every single call that the UFC has made with yes and a finish. I've got Shavkat Rakhmonov. Michael Chiesa thinks that Garry could take him to a decision. I don't know about that. I will have a better understanding next week on the podcast, but I really think Shavkat Rakhmonov gets it done, and I think he finishes Ian Garry as of right now. I think he gets a knockout or a submit. I think he does whatever he wants to Ian Garry on a long enough time span, right? Garry might make the first round or two interesting, but I think Shavkat, and it is, I believe, only a 3-minute bout, only a 3-round fight. Let's see. Real quick, let me just Google. Shavkat versus Garry, how many rounds? 5 rounds. More time for Shavkat to work because I don't think Gary's going to outwork him. Shavkat has great. I got Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, what are we doing here? Larasenko sees something in this guy. And then Asakura Pantoja. I do have Pantoja in this one. We took a look at Kai Asakura on the last episode, and I think he's fought a couple of good guys. Most recently Juan Archuleta. He does have that loss to Kyoji Horiguchi, which is the most recent of their 2 fights, but the first time he fought, he did finish him in the first round. So, not exactly a wash, not exactly a tune-up for Pantoja, certainly deserving of a title fight, especially given the state of the flyweight division, with Pantoja having 1, if not 2 wins over all of the top contenders and big names. But Kai Asakura, I think, being led in to build up the champion here, Pantoja. And I've got Pantoja in that. Now, I could see Kai Asakura hurting Pantoja. Pantoja's been in some wars. He's taken some damage and had a couple of decisions, Doesn't mean it means he's just fighting the most amazing guys and they're fighting him on the best night of their life. But I think Kai Asakura is going to take this one. Kai Asakura. I think he's going to take the L in this one. Pantoja is going to win this one. And let's just get to a couple of friend questions here. I don't call them fan questions. As I text my girlfriend here. Friend questions. Let's take a look. Okay, what do we have? Got a bunch from Visa. I love you, Michael Visa. Everybody go check out Michael Visa. Everybody check him out. Let me pull up Instagram here. I love Mike Visa. We were in Sammy Slick Vampire Slayer together, and I gotta tell you, that was a weird one. That was a weird one. Fun movie. Very proud of that movie. Not a cinematic masterpiece, but a very good movie. Everybody go follow Mike Visa here. He is fucking awesome. I love Mike Visa. Doing great. Professional fighter. Awesome leg locker. Thick jitsu, Kid hides 2 pairs of fucking honey glazed hams in the back of his pants, and they got security walks him back into the store after he leaves the grocery store, and they're like, son, you got to put those back in the fucking deli. We know what you got back there. And they frisk him. They find out that he's not, in fact, he is just in fact built like that. I love Mike Visa, dude. Go give this guy a follow. Pizza_Visa_MMA on Instagram. Love that dude. Let us now take a look at our friend questions. So, from Visa, top 3 lightweights of all time. Lightweight's a weird one because that division is always so good, and I've always had like a couple of guys that I really like, but I'm never like emotionally invested with them. Like if you ask me like what my favorite featherweight is, or my favorite bantamweight, like I'm gonna tell you like, oh, it's Max Holloway. Oh, bantamweight is Dominic Cruz or TJ Dillashaw, but probably Dominic Cruz. Like, oh, favorite middleweight, Robert Whittaker. Trying to think. Welterweight? Oh, welterweight's a good one. Welterweight's like the perfect mix of like lightweight and bantamweight, where it's like I love all these guys and I literally love watching any of them fight, but I also like do have my favorites. For a while there, it was Nick Diaz, right? For a while, I came into the sport as a big fan of Nick Diaz, and then I fucking love Carlos Condit, the natural born killer. I love Carlos Condit. I think Robbie Lawler's championship reign at welterweight is one of the best, but this is about lightweight. Who are my favorite lightweights? I liked Pettis when he was slamming head kick. I think he had like 3 head kick knockouts in a row. That one he hit Joe Lozon with fucking put nightmares in me. Joe Lozon said that's the hardest he's ever been hit and knocked out, and it was the most like damage he's had after a fight. Love Nate Diaz. Love Cowboy Cerrone, right? You gotta love these guys. Rafael Dos Anjos, you know, his time at lightweight, that dude was a monster. Justin Gaethje, absolute fucking monster. Dustin Poirier, you know, I love Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King, you know. Hard for me to pick a top three. If I pick top three, it's probably not going to be for 100% their skill set or their, like, accolades at lightweight. I'm probably going Cowboy Cerrone, Nate Diaz, and who else has been up at lightweight? Let's see. Oh, man. BJ Penn at lightweight was fucking excellent. Oh, my God. How could I? Everybody fucking shame me. Throw shame on me in the fucking comments for forgetting this one. Fucking, dude, I can't believe I forgot that. I knew I was forgetting somebody, too, and I just wasn't sure if it was an older guy or a newer guy. Dude, how the fuck could anyone forget Charlie Olives? Charlie Olives. Dill Bronx. You can rain stones, but the stones are going to come back. Charles Oliveira, after his fucking excellent win against Michael Chandler to win the lightweight belt. I mean, Charles Oliveira, awesome. Another favorite lightweight of mine, Dan Hooker. I love the Hangman. That dude fought Islam Makhachev on like 12 days' notice, and a lot of people like to say they're built different, you know. Dan Hooker is built different for that one. So those are my top three lightweights. Probably Charles Oliveira, Nate Diaz, Cowboy Cerrone, you know. And Mike just asking a slew of these questions. Light heavyweights, top three middleweights, top three heavyweights. Okay, let's go down all of them. Top three heavyweights. I got to go Fedor Emelianenko. I got to go Mirko Cro Cop. And I got to go... Francis Ngannou, dude. Alistair Overeem is up there, too. Fedor Emelianenko, Francis Ngannou, Alistair Overeem in his prime. Ubereem. Top three light heavyweights of all time. How could you not go John Jones? You know, how could you not go John Jones? I love Alexander Gustafsson. I love Glover Teixeira, you know. My personal favorites, like I love Yuri Prohaska. I love Gustafsson. And I really like DC. Right here, Durain. Durain has no fucking love for Daniel Cormier. Top three middleweights of all time. Robert Whittaker, Stylebender, Anderson Silva. That one was easy. Do you think a women's 145 class would be good? I don't think so because the talent pool is a bit shallow. And we saw kind of an experiment with that when they brought Chris Cyborg in to the UFC. That was a couple years ago, right? They've gotten rid of it since then. Maybe there could be a better pool if they'd have to really put money into it too and recruiting it, right? I bet you could find some freak Chinese bitches, some freak Brazilian, Russian bitches out there to fucking go out there and bomb, right? Kayla Harrison, I think, would dominate all of them, you know? Kayla Harrison's a fucking savage with her judo. You know, but I mean, Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes was the best fight to make at 145. And, you know, who'd you have? You had Megan Anderson. Her name escapes me. Not Heather Maverick. Not Miranda Maverick. Heather something. Now I want to get her name. UFC women featherweight. What was her name? Not Heather Hardy. Oh, boy, who was it? Oh, yeah, Norma Dumont would fight at 145 there. She fought Nunes. Let's look up Nunes' record. What was her name? There's a fucking women's featherweight who was a sweetheart and a very cool chick, but she lost. And, Felicia Spencer, Fifi, right, bro? Fifi Spencer was cool. I liked Felicia Spencer. She had excellent jiu-jitsu. But, women's featherweight, could it do better now? Maybe. I think it would take time, resources, a couple of big names, which there are a couple of big names, but it would take a lot more than I think the UFC is willing to give. And also, I really don't think the talent pool is that deep for a full division. I mean, are there 15 good women's featherweights in the world? Probably. Are they all going to hold up? And then it's like, are they all, where are they? Are like the top 3 miles ahead of like the bottom 12 after that? Like, you got to wonder. I think that is what makes a division, like men's featherweight, for example. Like, the whole fucking division is stacked. Good question, Mike. Good question. What would the ideal weight classes be? I'm not sure what you mean by that. The ideal weight classes. Like, to watch, the ideal weight class to watch, in my opinion, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight. Are you going to UFC Tampa? Yes, I am. I am going to UFC Tampa. I will be either in the nosebleeds with my boy Odin, the homie-in-law, or I will be, I believe, floorside with my boss and a couple people who I can't name yet because they're not confirmed, and also I don't want to. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce it yet, but I will be the least famous person that I'm sitting with. I can guarantee you that. Was Ben Askren or Mighty Mouse? Was Ben Askren for Mighty Mouse the worst trade in sports history? Probably not. There was probably a worse trade, but I can't think of one. Although we got that 5-second flying knee knockout off of Jorge Masvidal, so I mean that alone was worth it, was it not? Can Bo Nickel beat Khamzat Chimaev? I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here? No. What are we doing here? What? You could pause Khamzat Chimaev and give Bo Nickel 3 years, and he still wouldn't beat Khamzat Chimaev. That's my fucking views on that. Can anyone beat Khamzat Chimaev? I think so. I see Drick has given him a good fight. I could see, but here's the thing, dude. I thought Robert Whittaker was the guy to beat Khamzat Chimaev. I thought Gilbert Burns had a good shot. If Usman had more time to acclimate to 85 and was not given like 8 days notice on it, I thought Usman took him to the fucking ringer, and I really thought Whittaker was going to be the one, and I was very surprised by that fight, because you're thinking like, okay, Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman took him to the bell, and they both came pretty close. Gilbert Burns was a very close fight, and then Usman was like very close for how short notice it was and up a weight class. But, you gave Khamzat the edge there. He was a lot bigger than Burns. I just thought that Whittaker would – maybe Whittaker was injured. Maybe – shit happens in MMA too. That's why betting is so fucking rough. But as of right now, I don't know. I think the person with the best chance is probably Duplessis, right? You got to think it's Duplessis, the middleweight champion here. Sean Strickland, no, especially because Khamzat sparred with him. He knows his style. Too one-dimensional. Israel Adesanya, there was a time where I thought Adesanya would be too much for him. I don't know if it's now. I really don't. Whittaker got beat. Kyle Baralho, Nasruddin Imavov, no. What are we doing? I think the one who has the best shot right now is Dricus Duplessis and maybe Israel Adesanya, because Israel Adesanya can evade. He can find those openings. Khamzat's sloppy on the feet, right? Israel could find those openings and put him to sleep, but I really just don't think that anyone beats him. If anyone, it's Dricus, because he is a little bit dirty. Not dirty as like a dirty fighter, but he's a little bit like grimy, a little bit of like a raw dog on the feet, He's a little bit messy, but he's technical where it counts. He's explosive. He can meet Khamzat on that like forward motion, fucking two trains crashing into each other. And I think he has enough wrestling. He'll get taken down. If Khamzat touches him, he's getting taken down. But I think he can... I don't think it'll be every takedown. I think he can defend some. And then what can he do off those takedowns? Can he find those openings? I think he could. Right now, Khamzat looks unbeatable to me. I want to see Israel's next fight, and I want to see I'm afraid Whitaker might be past it, but I really thought Whitaker could have had him. I was really sad about that. I was looking for that 1-2 head kick off Whitaker and just fucking put him to sleep. But, Prime Khabib versus Tony. Just talked about this. I think there was a time where Tony could have beaten Khabib, or at least had a good shot, even odds with him. And I think it was around the second time that fight got announced. They scheduled it 4 times, and 4 times it fell through. It was the cursed fight. But the last 2, I think it would have been Khabib by a landslide. And at the time, I still wasn't sure. But as we look in retrospect, yeah, I think Khabib would have beaten him. I think if they fought when that fight first got scheduled, or maybe even that second one, I think Tony had a good chance. But I think Khabib, I don't buy this thing that, like, Khabib was perfect and is the all-time great and all that stuff. He is one of the all-time greats for sure. But I don't buy this thing that, like, Khabib was always unbeatable. I mean, bro, Gleison Tebow took him to the bell. A lot of people think Gleison Tebow beat him. I think Jack Slack says that on his podcast just to, like, throw some shade at the Khabib fanboys. But, I mean, Gleison Tebow took him to the fucking ringer. I mean, Gleison Tebow was fucking cutting massive amounts of weight and juice to the gills. But, I mean, hey, that's the story. Oh, would Khabib still be undefeated if he never retired? No, I think Charles Oliveira would have beaten him. Laugh at me if you want. Islam and Khabib are not the same. MMA math does not work. I don't think that's how it would have turned out with Oliveira. Who should Merab fight, Jan or Umar? I would like to see, I answered this on the podcast on Tuesday, but I think that Merab should fight Umar Nurmagomedov. Get a new title contender in there. Umar has passed every test with flying colors. I know Corey Sandhagen's the biggest contender on his list. We've seen the Merab and Jan fight. I'm not saying it would go the same way, but I think their styles match up very interestingly with the wrestling. I think they'll both get takedowns on each other, but they both have the gas tank to push that, and I think it forces them to strike a little bit. And I say, for the health of the division, get a new contender in there, have them fight. If Umar wins, he's the next guy. Opens up a bunch of title contenders who we haven't seen, fresh matchups. If Merab wins, he asserts that he is that guy, and Umar, we get to go and find where that ceiling is for Umar, right? Have him fight Jan. I think that would be a great fight too. And then, we get the Jan rematch after, But I think Merab should fight Umar. Durain. Oh, that was a Durain question too. Hell yeah, that's salty dog. Durain, who are the champ in each division by the end of 2025? Okay, let's take a quick look here, and then I'm going to head out. And, okay. Let's take a look. Okay, Alexandre Pantoja by the end of 2025. I'm going to go Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval, flyweight champ, end of 2025. Bantamweight, who is the bantamweight champion? Umar Nurmagomedov. Featherweight, who is the featherweight champion by the end of 2025? Topuria. Lightweight champion by the end of 2025. Lightweight champion by the end of 2025. Let me come back to that one. Welterweight champion by the end of 2025. Shavkat. Middleweight champion by the end of 2025. Hamzat. Light heavyweight champion by the end of 2025. If he stays in the division, Pereira. If he leaves and goes to heavyweight and it's left amongst the contenders, I think Yuri. Heavyweight, John Jones. I go back and forth on how good Tom Aspinall could do. I think John Jones fucks him up. Valentina, what was this? Women's pound for pound. Women's strawweight. Who is the women's strawweight champion? If she fucking fights Zhang Wei Li, otherwise I got Yan Xiaonan, who looked excellent in her fight last weekend. Women's flyweight. I don't think it'll be Shevchenko. Women's flyweight, I think Erin Blanchfield. Erin Blanchfield or Alexa Grasso, but I think Erin Blanchfield. I think Alexa Grasso might have shown us her ceiling. And women's bantamweight, who is the champion by the end of 2025? Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison by a fucking long shot, dude. Kayla Harrison by a long shot. Friends, that is all I have. We didn't get to past fights that I'm grateful for, but it is coming. It is coming. I promise you we'll get to that one. I was going to look at UFC 189 Lawler versus McDonald too. I'll make a separate video for that one. How about that? As always, thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate that. If you're interested, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. I would greatly appreciate that. Follow me on X, follow me on Instagram, and just have a good time, have a good fucking time. I think we're going to have a fun weekend with Thanksgiving, and I think we're going to have a very fun week leading up to UFC 310 and then UFC in Tampa after that. Let me know who you guys got, your champions by the end of 2025. Let me know if you think I'm saying egregious shit here. Klein out.